Welcome back to Henry Harrison's Entrepreneurs, Business, and Finance podcast featuring Amy Ledgister, owner of the #1 private beauty college and academy, Lash and Brow Boutique, located in North Dallas. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Henry Harrison podcast, Entrepreneurs, Business, and Finance. Today we are very fortunate to have Amy Ledgister on with us, and she's going to tell us about her school, which is really neat. She is an entrepreneur, and thanks for coming on. Hello, Amy.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor. Very excited.
And this is a good one for me because this is definitely not something I know much about, but it makes it more fun. So 3D Lash and Brow is the name of the company, and that's actually the website as well. If you wanted to look it up, just spelled out 3 and the letter D, lashandbrow.com. And it is a salon and academy. And it's, from my understanding of these things, it's pretty significant business because I just looked online, looks like you got about 20 rooms in one location for teaching, and then you got a whole nother location and people in and out all the time. So maybe just talk about what you do and what the school does.
Yes, so my name is Amy Ledgister. I am the founder and CEO of 3D Lash and Brow. We are a private beauty college located in Dallas, Texas, as well as in Forney, Texas. We help women get licensure in the beauty careers. So from estheticians to cosmetologists, and we help them graduate and start a new journey. We started in 2018, and since then we've graduated thousands of women. Many of them have started their own businesses or work for really successful salons or med spas. And I have just been on this journey going on 12 years now, and I've learned so much. So it's very exciting to see women start and grow in their journeys.
So, I looked at you went to Wichita State University. Where are you from originally?
I am from Wichita, Kansas. So yes,
Okay.
I was actually a dental hygienist.
Yeah. So I think you must have had some interest in sort of appearance and health and things. But what was the journey that went from that? Did you actually work in that for a while to learning what you needed to learn to potentially start a business?
Yes, well, I started off, like I said, as a dental hygienist. I did that for 10 years. I loved it. I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I just didn't know what that looked like. And I've always loved beauty. I was blessed to work for Dr. Mary Swift in Dallas, Texas. She would actually barter. So if you were a cosmetologist and you didn't have dental insurance, you could work off your balance by servicing her and the staff and doing beauty services. And so that's how I discovered lash extensions. There was a lash artist. She came and got her Invisalign or teeth whitened. And so she started doing our lashes. And I remember the very first time I went to get my lashes done, she just had like a little cute room and a little bed. And this is before, lashes are as big as they are now. And so I got my lashes done and I started thinking to myself, wow, maybe I could do this. I could have my own little suite. And Texas is the only state that you can get a license in just lashes. And so I went to school at night, dental hygiene during the day. And then within 6 months, I was able to build my business to where I could leave my dental hygiene job making $40 an hour to doing lashes and brows making $400 an hour.
Wow, that's a big step, a big jump.
Yeah.
When you said you always wanted to own your own business. Was that something when you started working, or was that something you thought about as a kid, or something your family encouraged, or where did that inspiration come from, as
You
far
know
as you
what?
could tell?
That's a great question. I honestly, looking back, I realized that I always did love sales. And I always loved movies like She Devil with Roseanne Barr, where she just kind of creates her own, organization, or Don't Tell Mom, the babysitter's dead, where she went into this corporate and created her own, fashion empire. So I think I grew up watching those kind of movies and just seeing how cool it would be to like run your own thing. And as a little girl, I remember my stepdad, he worked for J.C. Penney's and he would, get extra things from the warehouse. He would get like extra sunglasses they weren't going to sell and he would give them to me. And I just remember instead of just me putting them on, I remember going on my patio and trying to sell them to, people in the apartment complex. And so that was my very first time realizing that, oh, I like to sell. And so I didn't know that I would create the empire that I have today and what was be required to do that. But yeah, I always knew that I loved having my own thing.
And I think that that's something that a recurring theme of the entrepreneurs we've had on the show and that I've known didn't know what was required to create that empire. I don't think anybody knows when they step into it that some of the challenges or difficulties they're going to face and the wonderful celebrations and accomplishments. And you mentioned, must be so gratifying and satisfying to see all these women better themselves. And they all are mostly women, I guess. Did I?
Yeah, yes, I would say
Okay. Yeah,
98%.
yeah, yeah. So what about those? Didn't realize would take moments.
There's so many. When I first opened my school, I wanted to create it for, the working adult because when I was going to school, I was working and I needed a flexible schedule. So I wanted to create that, have night programs. But I realized if you have a night program, you have to be there at night as well. So when I first started and I didn't know the power of delegation, I just didn't have a blueprint. So when I first opened my school, here I am thinking, oh, I love to teach, but I'm wearing so many different hats. I'm janitor, I'm laundry, I'm financial aid, I'm HR, I'm all of these, and a teacher and marketing. So I'm wearing all these hats, and I'm also running a night program and a day program. So I'm literally there from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. Monday through Friday and Saturdays. So it was a lot until I learned that in order to really succeed, you have to let go of the reins a bit. And so I started to hire, and that took a lot of weight off me once I started to delegate. However, hiring became a new form of challenge for me, learning how to manage people and manage teams. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to have that on. One of the things so my first business was a custom home building business, and I'm not really very handy. Like you wouldn't want me climbing on the roof, nailing things up. But at times I was very respected and was envious of some of the guys. Like I went to college and got an MBA, and that was kind of my journey. But I started right out of college working for a big home builder where they trained me and I learned. But I remember some of the guys, they were framers, they were carpenters, and they were able to go and, they trained us what to look for, and other people were building the houses. I wasn't literally building anything. But those skills, I was somewhat envious sometimes of the people because they really could look at certain things because they know how to put it up. They could have
Yeah.
stepped in and said, let me show you how to do this. And that wasn't something I could do. So I'm sure there's parts of that because you know all aspects of the business because you were doing it yourself that have also served you.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. As you said, when you're starting new, you're just learning, and you never stop learning, no matter what stage you're in, right? Because businesses change, right? Regulations change, you know, all of that changes. So yeah, I definitely learned a lot about myself and people, learning to manage different things. So it was eye-opening for sure. Like I said, when I first started, I was the only instructor. And then once I hired an instructor, I was able to grow that much more. So one of the things I always tell my mentees, because now I help other people open up their own schools, is do not wait on hiring an admin team and just an admin assistant. Just hire. It will pay for itself.
That's good advice. Yeah. So yeah, when people come to your school, I imagine there's all different goals and thousands of people you said have come through. That's a lot of people. When they come through, some of them, so how does that work where you help people start their own? Is that sort of a separate business or is that something some people you just get to know, so you decide to help them, or how does that work?
People seek me out. So from social media or just social media, they reach out to me and they say, hey, I would love to own a school. Can you help me? And so I didn't realize that was a business within itself. And so I created a whole consulting package for other or future school owners. And I've helped probably over 10 women now open up their own beauty schools and succeed. And so I always say that I wish I had a mentor when I first opened up my school. It just wasn't a thing. It's kind of a niche, I feel like a niche business, being a beauty school owner. And so that's also a way for me to give back, is to teach what I learned along this journey and hopefully help them to prevent some of the mistakes that I made. some of the money that I lost, some of the heartache and pain. So all of that, if I could help just one person, that means the world to me.
That is so neat. That is so neat. Really inspiring. Just when you mentioned keeping up with the regulations, I got a headache just thinking about that. You must have someone that has to do that, or you do that, or that seems like that would be a pretty important job and necessary and full of pitfalls if you don't follow it closely.
Oh, yeah, it can be a true nightmare. I've definitely had some incidences, we talked a little earlier about online. During COVID was when I kind of first started my school. I started my school and then COVID hit. So here I am, just I say a toddler, finally getting the groove of walking in my business. And then, the pandemic hit. So now I'm having to navigate us going completely online, which, believe it or not, it actually increased our enrollment 60% because now people could register from all over the US, not just in Texas. And so I'm running basically two schools at this time, students that want to come on campus and then students who are online. And then we did that for about 2 years straight, and which was approved by the state. And then one day we get an email saying all online has to cease. And I was required to drop about 200 students that were registered that just started because they made this new swift rule, no more online education. And I had to petition Governor Abbott. I had to go to all of my, senators to try to get the state board to allow my students to continue their program. And so, yeah, I've had some run-ins with the yeah, regulation and their changes definitely impact your industry.
That's a doozy there. Yeah. Hmm. So now people can start, I believe you said before the start of the podcast, that people can start online, but they will need to spend some time in your actual school. But with those two locations, they could come in presumably from, a relatively far distance. That doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. It's very flexible. Again, like I said, I created it for the working adult. So now in Texas, you can do 50% of your program online. So that still gives people a great opportunity to get their hours and finish their program with that flexibility if they work or, have kids.
Right, right, right. What a time to start a business right before COVID.
I know, I know, I know. One of my favorite pastors is T.D. Jakes, and he mentions you have to be prepared for the famine and the feast. And so, as I mentioned during that pandemic time, of course, it was odd having to transition to online. But then once I learned how to pivot, I could see, oh, well, now people are registering from all over because it's open. And although that was great, it was just such a flood of students at once that I didn't necessarily have the systems in place or the different things that you think about when your business is smaller and growing that you need. And so here I am navigating such a huge increase of business when I'm still in like year two of business. So quite the journey.
And you need accountants and tax advisors and bookkeepers and teachers and, like you said, janitors because you got that large facility, furniture and supplies
Yeah.
for your classes. I can imagine what happens if you run out of supplies when everybody shows up for their class. You can't
Yes.
have that.
No, you cannot. You cannot. And students are they want what they want when they want it, in their minds they're paying for certain things. So they're not as grace giving as much grace as some people. So you have to make sure you're on top of everything when it comes to having a beauty school.
I love listening to JT Jakes.
TD Jakes.
TD, yeah, TD. It's been a long time, but I listened to him online. He has a way of talking about something and then he brings it the story and then he circles back, says another one, and then they relate together. And then there's another one that ties in. I thought was amazing. For a while there, I listened to him probably 20, 30 hours of is he still around? Is he still with us?
He is. He just stepped down, so now his daughter has taken over his congregation, but he still has his online ministry. He still preaches all over, and so I enjoy him. I feel like a lot of his sermons got me through some of those difficulties of being an entrepreneur because I feel like he speaks a lot to the entrepreneur. So as we know, when you start a business, you don't know what's required, and so I remember year one just learning and navigating. I remember crying for about 6 months straight just because it was so overwhelming having just having a school. Like I said, I thought, oh, I love to teach. Let me open a school. But teaching was the least that I got to do, to do, to do, and just navigating having staff. Yeah, so TD Jakes, his sermons are always on point for me.
TD Jakes. Are there schools around the country, beauty schools? Is there any informal or formal network or conferences or associations or anything like that?
No, there's really not any conferences or anything specifically for school owners. However, for when your school is ready to get accredited to be able to offer financial aid, they do have certain conferences that are catered towards that. And so you'll get to meet schools from all over the US at these different types of accreditation events. However, just school ownership alone, no, you don't get to meet too many people. So yeah, it can be kind of a lonely journey, which is why I think I now have a lot of people reaching out to me because I am kind of not big on social. Let me not say big. I'm heavy on social media posting about this journey and, and giving tips on how to succeed as a new school owner.
I can see why they would. I would if I was looking for it. Just meeting you this short time. Yeah, what a blessing if you could get your help. And I imagine the whole financial aid thing, that's a whole nother business all in of itself because you got to see if you're going to get paid back and who's the right person to basically invest with. Presumably, it's people that don't have enough money to go through, but they'll make more money when they get the accreditation. So you try to create a win-win with them. And it sounds like may do some charity as well, but it
Yeah.
can't all be a charity. So if you're all charity, then you'll go out of business. So that's a
Yeah.
whole thing. What is that like? Is there some
Woo.
guidance there somewhere?
That's a good question because the first 2 years you open a beauty school, you're not even eligible to get government funding for your students. So it's all cash pay, which as you know can fluctuate depending on what the students are going through. And so it's not as, I mean, there are students that do pay, but it's not as stable as once you become accredited. So once you do become accredited, you do have to decide if you're going to be a bank because as you mentioned, once people do get loans, your responsibility as a school owner is to ensure that they go to work and that they're going to pay back those loans. So you become, the banker and trying to get people to pay things back and keeping up with them, their job placement. So it's if your school decides to become accredited, it is another part-time job, although it can be very lucrative because you are getting the grants from the government, but it's a lot of work, it's a lot of red tape.
Right. Wow. Well, do you get any time to probably don't spend much time teaching anymore. Do you teach
No.
at all? Yeah.
I do occasionally like specialty classes, like certifications, but not as far as the day-to-day classes, our longer programs. Our longest program is 1,000 hours. That's our cosmetology. So that takes about 6 months. So no, I might pop in here or there, but I'm running everything behind.
Well, you're basically teaching everybody. I mean, you're making sure the teachers are taught, you're making sure the students are taught, you're making sure the people that are borrowing are taught what that means. You're now teaching other business owners or business owners wannabe. So it's just different than actually going in and teaching about lashes where you did it in the beginning.
Yeah, so true. I think too, because we are a family-owned business, even though I'm the one who's in the school, my husband, he helps with this, he's CFO. My daughter, she's now 20, so she's a licensed instructor at the school. So they kind of see us, and I think it also helps to kind of inspire people like, hey, if they can do it, we can do it. And so they get to kind of see me running the school, even though they might not be watching everything, but they see a part of that. And I've gotten some feedback that it is inspiring to see that if I can do it, they can do it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't know about that. Yeah, that is really neat. Your daughter and your husband, so you have a bit of a legacy here you're creating,
Yeah.
not just for you and not just for your students and those starting businesses, but also for yourself.
Yes.
Neat, 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 neat. Do you ever get a vacation
Yeah.
nowadays?
Working on it. It's like, now that I'm fully staffed and have a really great team, I've had some people that have been with me almost 7 years now. We know each other. And of course, having my amazing husband and daughter so I could use more vacation if that's what I could use way more. But now I recently graduated from 10,000 Small Business, Goldman Sachs. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Oh,
that.
I have heard of that. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. And so in that cohort, they teach you things like, planning your year and planning your vacations, and the program is about 5 months long, and you have to give up pretty much every Thursday and Friday, which, as a business owner, that's kind of a big deal
Yeah.
to let go of that, but it helps you learn that your business can run without you. And so I've kind of taken those Thursdays and Fridays and kept that going since I graduated. And it's not going to fall apart if I'm not there every minute.
Well, and I've got to think, because I know it's this way for me, that there is benefit to some of that time where maybe you're not literally completing a task, but you're thinking about things
Hmm.
and you're giving yourself time to reflect and have some perspective and hopefully make some better decisions, because of that. Does that ring true with you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Not just the fact that I was in a cohort dedicated to business and being around other business owners to, bounce ideas off of each other or just hear what works for them. But as you said, we can be so focused working in the business that we're not working on our business. And so when you take a step back, you can really see where the gaps, what's needed, and also gives you a moment to kind of pat yourself on the back because sometimes we think we can always focus on maybe not the not so good that we don't see how well things are running.
Right, right. So what do you see in the future then? You've just completed this graduation, this program, and you're looking at things anew. And it's been a while. I mean, that's 8 years, I guess, 7, 8 years for your
Yeah,
business that you started. But yet it's still, I mean, you're a young person, so you got a long time to go. You and your family could have this business for many years. What are your long term? I'm sure they talked about that in the program too. What's your program for the next 10 years, 20 years and
yeah.
longer?
They really emphasize what's your exit plan, and they explain that there's multiple different types of exiting. Sometimes just exiting from CEO is an exit. You're no longer running the operations. And so that's what I'm working towards is exiting from CEO so that I'm just founder and visionary. And then I'm actually working on franchising. So I recently, this past year of being in school and taking a step back, I saw things that were running really well, and I saw things that would help other school owners. And so instead of having to just, do it all by yourself, if I've already created the systems, I could package that so that way other people can step in and enjoy the benefits of being the school owner, but without as much pain. There's always going to be a little bit of work in any business, but if I could, fine tune it to where it's more enjoyable, more accessible, as opposed to having 8 years of ups and downs. That's a big goal for me. So I plan to franchise my first location January 2027.
Wow, congratulations. Your stepfather and some of your relatives that knew you before you started all this, are they still around? Are they looking down at Amy and proud of their Amy and her
Um,
husband and your daughter?
I wish. No, but my grandparents before they passed, they were proud of me. So, and I know they're looking down and proud of me, but no, my younger daughters,
Next
they're
generation now.
yes, yes. What an
That's where
awesome
the future is, right?
yes.
You were going to say, I interrupted you and your
Oh,
daughter.
my daughters. I have an
Two daughters.
eight-year-old and
Okay.
a 2-year-old. Yes, they're my 8-year-old. She watches me. She's like, I want to be a boss, babe. I'll run
Boss
it.
lady.
Yes. I'm always telling my 20-year-old, like, hey, I need you to take over at some point. She's not that interested, but my middle one, she's like, I'll take over, mom. So I don't know what that will look like once she gets to that age, but she's very inspired and excited.
And then so you really are a superwoman. You had a baby in the middle of all this too.
Oh, I did. Right when I was opened our second location. Yeah. So, and that's a journey itself is opening more than one location because you're really splitting yourself in half, which I didn't realize that until once I did it.
A lot of people struggle with that. Yeah. And you can't be both places at the same time.
You cannot. You cannot. And sometimes when you're not at one location, you can see where it's kind of slips. So that's again, that's something that I worked on for the past couple of years is how do I keep my culture and my standards at both locations without wearing myself thin, especially as a new mom and of course as an awesome wife. But how do I maintain those standards? And so that's one of the things that I've been working on and I learned a lot through my different programs that I took this year.
So when you talk about culture, I could pull up the website, but tell me what your thoughts are on that, because that's obviously an important part of a successful company is having a place where people like to work, people like to come, people get what they're looking for, all those kind of things. Sometimes they don't know what they're looking for. You have to help them.
Yeah, that is so true. When I first heard that term culture, I really didn't know what it meant as far as work. You hear it so much. And so for me, I just made it mean standard, like how we operate here is of excellence. And I'm a believer. So I think anything you do with your hands, do as it you're doing it unto the Lord, right? And so I want that to be from the moment people walk in, they're greeted like, we want them to feel like we're happy to be there and that we're happy to see them because a lot of these students, they're carrying so much weight. Some of them are single moms, some of them are, I have women in the shelter who currently, are homeless. I have, young students. So you have students that have a lot that they're carrying in to the school and you want it to feel like a safe haven for them. But at the same time, you want to make sure that they come to learn and get what they need in order to be successful. So as far as culture, just making sure that we are operating in excellence from staff to students. We hold them accountable, but we also allow them to just be and be seen.
Yeah, all those people that are coming to take classes, they're taking on a new challenge, a new journey. They're probably many times intimidated, scared, but they're taking that step. I can tell you if they met you, they'd feel warm and right at home. So that's probably what you want to pass on, that everybody can be like that.
Yes, thank you. That's what we want. We want them to feel accepted, warm. We want them to feel happy. We want them to enjoy their time, even though it's maybe 3 to 6 months, that's still long enough time to, and same for our instructors. We want them to enjoy their job too, because they're the ones who are really pouring into the students every day. So we want to make sure that we pour into their cups as well.
I know people that were at homeless shelters, not very many, but a couple instances. And they didn't tell me. I figured it out. That was okay with me. And they got back on their feet. So it was a good thing. Proud of that. The probably not as anywhere near like what you're dealing with, but I can emphasize at least in my one or two measly little examples what you must see. The I was going to tell a story, but Sam Walton, I largest company in the world, still probably the richest family in the world if you add them all up. I don't know, maybe Elon Musk topped him at this point, but prior to that, it was them. They hired the greeters in Walmart to say hello when you came in. He used to say if everybody in the store was friendly, our sales would go up, and he had some huge number like 10% just by making people feel welcome. And Walmart, I know when I work out at my health club, they always say as you walk out, goodbye, see you tomorrow. They do it every time too. It's a pretty well run health club.
Yeah. I
And
know.
even though I know they're doing it for business, even though I know they're told to do it, they're smiling. They seem to be into it. It makes me feel good. Yeah, come back tomorrow.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know that about Walmart and Sam Walton, but that's so true. Just being greeted and consistently, because from a business owner's perspective, you know that there's a culture or a standard that it has to be done every time. So even if you know that they're doing it for their job, somebody cares enough to make sure that it's happening. So that's pretty awesome.
He brought that up. You mentioned greeting when they come in, so that's why the Walmart greeter, that was his idea with Walmart. So hey, you didn't even know it, but you were copying the guy was, or you had the same way of thinking as the guy that became the richest man in the world. So
It makes a difference. It makes it how you treat people, it's sometimes not even so much the product, it's how people remember how they felt. And so that's what I want. It's not always going to work that way. You
no,
cannot please
no,
everybody. I quickly learned that.
yeah, that's right. You can have too high expectations because life has a way of showing up in ways that you don't want sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, what else would you like to share? People can, as far as the school, as far as what else would you like to share about the company for maybe people that are interested, and then just about other business owners or anything that you would like?
Okay. Well, if you're interested in, joining the beauty career, we have a lot of people that are second choice careers, nurses that are wanting to change, teachers that are wanting to retire and get into something else, beauty, and that's more customer service related. So our esthetician program is number one. It's a great opportunity. You can visit us on our website at 3dlashandbrow.com and send us a message, and we'll schedule you a virtual consultation and answer any questions that you might have. Or if you've ever thought about owning your own beauty school or getting in the, owning your own salon, you can also reach out that same way, 3dlashandbrow.com. Or you can go to Aspire with Amy, that's my other website, .com, and send me a message. I would love to help you, give you some guidance, share some tips. And what I would like to share is just that if you are an entrepreneur, that you just got to keep going. It can be very challenging. It can be, and find a mentor. So keep going, find a mentor, even if it's listening to this podcast or other podcasts or getting books, but find a way to make it through because, like I've mentioned, we've graduated thousands of women. And I know that if I had given up year one, I wouldn't have the success that I have today. And even with today, I'm still learning. So continue to learn, continue to seek mentorship, and give it all to God.
What a fantastic way to wrap up. And thank you so much for coming on. I know people are going to love this.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another episode. You can also search Henry Harrison Podcast on your favorite podcast platforms.